Order can be imposed in a moment. Making it last takes much longer. Welcome to another story in the Brief Universal History of Civilizations series. Today I'll tell you about what begins after unification succeeds. This is China from about 221 BCE to 907 CE, an age not of founding, but of endurance. Qin shows that order can be forced into existence. It also shows how quickly such order collapses when it carries no meaning. What follows is a long correction. Law learns to live with morality. Coercion is softened by ritual. Power searches for justification, not just obedience. The central problem becomes unavoidable. How do you rule millions without turning the state into an enemy of everyday life? This is not a story of one dynasty rising and falling. It is the story of a civilization learning how to govern at scale. Han fuses ethics with administration. Trade opens China outward. Buddhism enters as a language of meaning when the state grows tired. Rebellions return when balance slips. Unity breaks, reforms, and breaks again. Empire becomes a rhythm, not an exception. Across these centuries, China builds the most durable imperial order in history, not because it is perfect, but because it keeps trying to make power feel legitimate, human, and worth sustaining. Weights change first, then measures, then the script carved onto the wooden boards outside the storehouse. By nightfall, nothing looks familiar. Liang, head of his household, watches officials work without haste or explanation. They do not ask permission. They do not argue. They replace. Everything becomes clearer at once. Distances align, taxes calculate cleanly. Orders arrive already complete. The state now speaks one language and applies one rule. It functions with frightening precision. Liang understands what is expected of him more easily than ever before. Yet nothing feels his. The old measures carried memory. His father taught him which bowl was fair, which length honest. The new ones are correct, but empty. Law arrives as instruction, not obligation. Obedience is demanded, not earned. The system does not care who he is, only what he produces. This is not chaos. It is the opposite. The machine works. Roads align. Records thicken. Punishment follows immediately. Reward does too. There is no appeal to ancestors, no space for explanation. Uniformity replaces persuasion. Efficiency replaces loyalty. Liang senses the danger without having words for it. People comply, but they do not belong. Fear travels faster than trust. When errors occur, there is no room to absorb them. When pressure rises, there is no cushion of belief. Qin succeeds because the world before it was shattered. Endless war made any order preferable. Organizational and military superiority impose unity where fragmentation exhausted resistance. But this unity is mechanical. It binds bodies, not minds. From a wider view, between about 221 and 206 BCE, Qin marks a coercive, mechanical phase of the Chinese system. Uniform law creates efficiency without ethics. The state achieves perfect function and zero attachment. Order, without meaning, accelerates collapse rather than preventing it. Liang seals his storehouse with the new standard lock. The empire feels solid. It also feels temporary. Morning light slips through paper windows as the boy repeats lines he barely understands, yet already knows by heart. The brush moves carefully. Each stroke must be right. Outside, bells mark the arrival of a caravan. Camels kneel, bales are counted. Languages mix at the gate. Learning and trade breathe the same air. This is where meaning returns. After Qin, order remains, but its voice changes. Violence retreats into memory, preserved as warning. The Han state still counts, taxes, commands. But now, it also teaches. Classical texts move from private halls into official life. Ethics no longer stand opposite power, they move inside it. The boys' lessons are practical. Filial duty mirrors administrative loyalty. Proper conduct becomes policy. Confucian thought shapes appointment, promotion, and punishment. Officials are trained not only to obey rules, but to embody them. The state has learned that fear alone does not endure. Meaning is restored deliberately as structure. Beyond the walls, the Silk Road opens the empire outward. Jade, silk, horses, and ideas travel west. News and beliefs return east. The Han court understands connection as strength. Roads and ritual reinforce one another. Empire becomes a network of communication as much as a territory. This synthesis repairs what Qin broke. Institutions carry ethics. Ethics legitimize institutions. The center governs without erasing difference, but expects moral formation in return. Power feels softer now, but it is everywhere. From a wider view, between about 206 BCE and the 2nd century CE, the Han build a moral administrative empire. Reacting against Qin's severity, they embed Confucian ethics into durable governance while integrating Eurasian trade. Meaning and order stop competing. They cooperate. The boy closes his book as the city fully wakes. His future is not in battle, but in learning how to carry the empire inside himself. Chants drift across the fields before dawn, half prayer, half accusation. The leader listens from the edge of the village as people tie yellow cloth around their heads. They speak of heaven, not officials, of salvation, not petitions. The language of law feels too distant to answer hunger. For years, taxes rose while protection thinned. Land gathered into fewer hands. Registers grew thick, yet justice grew rare. The moral promise that once bound ruler and peasant has worn through. The empire still exists on paper, but not in expectation. When belief drains away, obedience soon follows. This unrest is not just rebellion, it is exhaustion turning inward. People no longer ask for reform, they look for cosmic correction. Heaven, not the court, must act. Anger dresses itself in faith because bureaucracy has lost its voice. The yellow turbans do not attack the state directly, they step outside it. As conflict spreads, the structure collapses quickly. Courts vanish, garrisons withdraw, roads decay, administration dissolves. Yet something deeper holds. Families keep the classics, teachers continue to instruct. Language persists, ritual adapts. Ethics survive locally without imperial command. Meaning retreats into households and communities. Pressure from the north deepens the fracture. Migrations and invasions erase what remains of central authority. China breaks politically, but not culturally. The Han order dies as a system, not as a civilization. What was learned is not forgotten. From a wider view, Between the 2nd and 6th centuries CE, fiscal crisis, land concentration, demographic strain, and migration hollow out imperial power. The moral administrative empire fails socially. Rebellion marks its end. Yet culture, language, and ethical habits endure, carried by people long after the state withdraws. As night falls, the leader watches the fires burn low. The empire has stepped back. The world does not end. It waits, held together by habits stronger than power. Dawn breaks over a line of bodies, moving in rhythm. Baskets rise and fall. Earth changes hands. Water waits. The woman steps forward again, shoulders burning, feet sunk into mud that will soon become the Grand Canal. She does not know its length. She knows only the weight. Orders move faster than rest. Officials count days, not exhaustion. The empire has returned suddenly and decisively. Stone, sweat, and command rebuild what centuries of division dissolved. North must feed south. South must supply north. Grain, troops, and authority must travel without delay. The canal is the answer to every problem the state can name. Her village emptied quickly. Conscription notices arrived already sealed. Refusal was unthinkable. The labor is relentless, precise, indifferent. Unity is carved into the land through bodies that will never be remembered. The work does not ask for belief, it demands endurance. The Sui state acts with urgency born of fear. Fragmentation still haunts memory. Frontiers press hard. Logistics promise control where culture alone failed. Force accelerates what persuasion cannot. The canal links regions, markets, and armies in a single gesture. The system functions. But society strains. Food thins. Families break under labor demands. Time compresses. What once took generations is forced into years. The state runs faster than the people who must carry it. From a wider view, between about 581 and 618, the Sui restore unity through infrastructural overreach. The need to bind north and south and answer frontier pressure drives unprecedented mobilization. Logistics succeed. Endurance does not. Unity returns more quickly than society can absorb it. As evening falls, the woman sets down her basket. The canal stretches beyond sight. The empire is whole again, built not from belief, but from bodies pressed into motion. Voices overlap as the official passes through the eastern gate of Chang'an. Sogdian traders bargain in sharp tones. A monk's chant drifts from a nearby temple. Later, at court, scholars debate precedent with calm precision. None of this clashes. It feels composed. This is what order looks like when it is confident. Administration runs on Confucian training. Examinations sort talent. Records circulate smoothly. Yet meaning does not come from law alone. Buddhism offers language for suffering and impermanence that bureaucracy cannot provide. Taoist rhythms soften what remains rigid. Difference does not alarm the state. It is taken in and arranged. The official understands the balance without needing it explained. Chang'an is not only a capital, it is a junction. Caravans arrive from Central Asia with horses, glass, stories, and gods. Grain moves inward. Ideas move outward. The Silk Road is no longer a distant edge. It is an artery feeding the center. Foreigners serve at court. Generals speak accented Chinese. Poets borrow images from far beyond the frontier. The empire is stable enough to allow this without fear. Long internal peace has created space for confidence. Coercion retreats. Attraction does the work. This is the fullest expression of the imperial model. Power governs through institutions. Meaning circulates through belief. Trade connects the center to the wider world without dissolving it. The state does not flatten culture, it hosts it. From a wider view, between about 618 and 755, the Tang reach a cosmopolitan peak. Confucian administration, Buddhist cosmology, and global exchange align under conditions of stability and openness to Central Asia. The empire becomes both moral center and crossroads of the world. As evening falls, lanterns light the streets. The official pauses, hearing a language he does not recognize and feels no threat. The world has come to China, and for a moment, China knows how to hold it. Orders arrive sealed, correct, irrelevant. The governor reads them once, then sets them aside. Troops wait in the yard, loyal to pay and command, not to distant ritual. Taxes are gathered locally now. Grain moves where he decides. The emperor still reigns in name. Power has slipped sideways. After Anlushan, nothing truly returns to what it was. The court survives. Ceremonies continue. Calendars are issued on time. Yet authority no longer flows from the center. It pools in provinces, hardens around armies, follows those who control force and revenue together. Moral language remains in circulation, but it cannot restrain swords paid by local treasuries. The governor understands the imbalance clearly. Confucian order depends on a center strong enough to discipline violence. That center has thinned under fiscal strain and endless mobilization. Taxes rise, trust falls. Buddhist and Taoist movements multiply, offering meaning where the state no longer can. Confidence drains away, anxiety takes its place. This is not sudden collapse. It is systemic implosion. Each region becomes semi-autonomous. Each jiedushi acts rationally inside a broken whole. Loyalty turns contractual. Obedience becomes optional. Imperial decrees still travel, but they no longer land. Violence escapes moral control, not because values vanish, but because no one can enforce them. The emperor remains symbolically necessary. No one can replace him. No one truly obeys him either. From a wider view, between about 755 and 907, the Tang unravel through militarized fragmentation. Over-empowered governors, fiscal exhaustion, and ideological strain hollow out central authority. The system survives in appearance while losing its structure. Night settles over the provincial seat. Drums sound for the local garrison, not the capital. The empire still exists. It no longer commands itself. What China learns across these centuries is stark. Order can be built, refined, moralized, and still fail if power outruns trust. The imperial system reaches heights no other civilization matches, yet it never escapes its central tension. Violence must be controlled by meaning, but meaning cannot survive without control. What is gained is durability. Even as dynasties fall, culture persists. Language, ethics, administration, and memory outlive the state that once enforced them. China proves that civilization can survive empire and even wait patiently for its return. What is lost is unity without force. Once power fragments, moral order cannot pull it back together on its own. The center becomes symbolic. Authority disperses. The classical model exhausts itself, not in chaos, but in overextension and fatigue. This chapter leaves a final lesson. Empire does not end when it collapses. It ends when it can no longer coordinate power and meaning at the same time. In the next story, we cross the ocean to a world that builds order without writing, without wheels, and without iron. High in the Andes, a civilization will organize labor, belief, and empire in a radically different way. America is about to enter the story.